And we're a couple minutes early. Do we have everybody, and can you guys hear us?
Can hear you.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Ryan, you good?
Yep.
Cool. Cool. Back up.
All right, good to see everybody. As we got going with the guys today, our Tell the Truth Monday was a two-parter today. So we had a recap of Dallas, some of the things we liked, some of the things we still obviously need to work on. Told the team we were pleased in terms of the work that we did in the red zone, both sides of the ball. And I thought penalties was one of the topics, that we had, and that was certainly better. But plenty for us to go on. And then we went through what's next. And, beginning with Tampa, I thought full circle moments are definitely cool. And we started our season against Tampa, and now we get to begin our second season there as well. And so it's a great measuring stick. You go back and you watch that game and see how much we've changed in that time, because they got us good for sure. And it didn't even feel that close. So we got lots of work to do, but we're really pumped to get rolling for the week. We got a real process that we like that you guys know about, and we'll stay really consistent with that through the week and really ready to get rolling. So all that said, let's get rocking with you guys.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Dan, first, can you run down some of the injuries and what you're expecting for this week with Marshawn, Tyler, but also with Jaden taking him out with the mild leg soreness, as you said? Is that something you would have done had these playoffs not been staring you in the face the next week?
I think so. I think you have to depend on the game first, John, to say, what's required for that game to go to win it. And I thought Dallas was really upfield. They're playing aggressive. This would be one that we have to get outside the pocket a lot. So that's why I decided. But I didn't really go into that space of like either or. Biotic's doing good. Coming back next on that. Marshawn was also doing well, ran today. So Arrow's going up. McGee, just kind of reframing some of the guys that missed last week's game that we were hoping trending up. Same with Cornelius Lucas. So, from a medical side, those are the guys that are trending up, and we'll get rolling, into practice on Wednesday.
And then, because like you said, you're facing Tampa the first round, how different, when you look back at that team in week one for what you guys have, how different are you guys now? And in what way specifically is maybe the biggest jump?
Yeah, I think who they are and what they do, meaning us, like at we were, I would say we were scheme, and we knew we would grow into that, John. All three phases, guys coming together. What we didn't know was really, who they are. And what we've learned over these, 17 weeks, this is a resilient group, man. These guys love to fight. They have a real connection. That's like a really powerful thing. You can see how close they are. You see it on the field, off the field. I love what we stand for. The guys have really put the work in, John, in the situation side of things. And so on the end of the games, I think over the last month, that's probably really expressed itself fully from New Orleans, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and yesterday, that there is a poise that goes on for the players into those spaces. And so I'd say that's, something, from week one to now has definitely changed. I think at that spot, they didn't know who they would become yet. And you have to go and grow through some of those sessions to do that. And so I think that's probably our biggest, change. We knew scheme-wise those things would evolve, but getting the connection going as a team, that's a big deal. Identity, all those kind of things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nikki.
Hi, Dan. How much of a concern is Jaden's leg soreness going into this week, but also, just in terms of him being able to do everything that he can on the field?
I'm not concerned, Nikki. I'm feeling good going in to the week, and I'm actually feeling good on the team's health. So that's a good thing, when you get to this time of year, heading into the guys, and hopefully having some guys back too.
And then for him overall, what have you seen from him just in being able to, manage? I know coming from college just feels like a super long year from him. How have you seen him, really go about his business just in terms of managing his health and making sure he's ready each week?
Yeah, he really did a nice job of finding his own rhythm for that. And it takes a little bit of trial early. What do I do on Tuesday? What do I do on Wednesday? And so the guys, the strength and, athletic training side of like arm care and shoulder care of things that go all along with that with the quarterback. So there was a lot to learn. We knew at some point, Nikki, there would be a silver lining with that late bye. We didn't talk about it, but having it at the end does provide the team maybe with more energy than you normally would have. It was good to see that on the plane ride home last night and then again today with the guys, knowing that there's a lot left in the tank.
Ben?
Hey, Dan. Just curious, when you look at the defense from yesterday, what kind of takeaways did you get from that, particularly against the run?
Well, the takeaways would be no takeaways, so I don't like that. Number one, top of the pile. I really thought they stood up down in the red zone, Ben. I thought that was, the part that changed the game. I thought Dallas went for it on fourth down at the end of the half, and to get that stop was a big deal. The run game I didn't feel as good last night. Just slow, the run that went for 6 or the run that went for – it was different than an explosive. Like I thought I'm trying to use a good example, like against Chicago, for instance. Good. Swift had a 50-yarder, and in the early part of Philadelphia, long one by Saquon and ratcheted it up. So I didn't love that. There were some 5 and 6 yard runs. I was happy that there weren't the explosive types. That was a big deal. But I would say the thing I was most proud of was their red zone. And then I thought they had a good 4-minute stop to create, the opportunity to go down, and win the game.
And then on your other side, the Cowboys ultimately get 6 sacks. You guys have given up a decent amount over the last month or so. We've also had injuries. No Tyler this game. Brandon leaves. What's kind of the status there for you in terms of why it seems like the number of sacks are going up, and how much of these injuries factor into them?
Injuries regarding like Tyler's?
With Biotish and you missed Wiley in one game. Coleman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I couldn't get it with the sacks. I wasn't following. Honestly, I thought in this last game, Ben, 3 of them could have not been sacks. Get the ball out, throw it while you're on the scramble to go. So they weren't all, in a traditional sense of in the pocket to go. Now, what I don't love also is the negative play that comes with it, on the early downs that goes into 2nd and 15 or 2nd and long, because then it kind of changes how you have to call it. So those are definitely the early down ones, Ben. We've got to get that out of our game.
Sam?
Dan, how can you stay on schedule on early downs if you don't have the running success that you guys are looking forward to?
I'd say there's lots of ways. RPOs are one where it's both balance. Quick games, another one. You have to get, you've heard me say it, completions and rushes. And so to have a, side like we did yesterday on a lopsided time of possession, it's hard to win that way. I think we ended up with like 80 plays defensively, and you just lose some of that energy that goes with it. And so it has to be about extending the drives. And so when you get behind some of the, like a sack on an early down, it makes it more difficult to have that type of, even, the RPO or the quick game throw doesn't give you the shot sometimes that you need. So it's all related to me, the completions and the runs.
And I wonder, he's a veteran and you saw him in week 1, but what is your early impression of Baker? How does he look maybe even different than when you first saw him?
I think they've just had a fantastic year. I think he's always been able to rip it. And been aggressive in and outside the pocket. Having the run game balance for them, I think that's what sets their offense apart this year, Sam. The addition of Irving, their run game, the play pass that goes with it, that is an impressive thing. And so that has been really consistent, through the year, the running game that goes along and matches up well with their play passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
David Aldridge?
Hey, Dan. With B-Rob, what are you seeing from him these last few weeks.
Yeah, and we're trying like hell to get he and others going in this space. One of the things I did like yesterday, and Anthony had said this, today when we were going through the game grades, from a pass protection standpoint, that was one of the spots that we thought was good with Brian's size. It's one of his hidden, I'm going to say hidden talents. Obviously, he's had that, but it is different, when you have somebody his size who can step up into the gaps and go to it. So he did a nice job onto that. But more than anything, man, we want to be able to get him downhill, be aggressive into that space, and we haven't hit that mark that we wanted to as much, David. And so when we do get behind on some of those early downs, it does make it more challenging. There's been previous game where we had penalties that knocked us into that space. And so it's something that heading into this second season that it's really important to us to make sure we find our ways to get that done.
With Mayfield, the first game, I know it was 4 months ago, so I know some of it doesn't matter, but you guys got good pressure on him, but you couldn't get him down.
Yes.
And I don't think it was because you were outside of your lanes or he was getting outside of contain. He just kind of broke tackles.
Yep.
So, is there a secret sauce to getting him on the ground?
I think we certainly didn't have it that day, if there is, David. He is a rare competitor in that way, and there's some guys that in the pocket, the foot quickness, the ability to move a shoulder to get underneath somebody, they do have that, and you do have to make sure when you are rushing somebody that we call it a cage, where you try to put somebody into a spot to at least not allow them to hitch up and go. But he has had a fantastic year. Now that we're going into the full breakdowns now and going into it, it's when you play somebody so early, you don't necessarily see it all. And then you look up and you see, 41 touchdowns, and you see, a lot of progress of moments and people. A lot of respect for what they're doing offensively for sure.
Scott?
Hi, Dan. You guys have played so many close games this year, and you've experienced playoff games. How can these close games in the regular season help you guys in a pressure-packed environment like the playoffs?
Well, a lot. And I think it's a really good thing. There's a lot of lessons that we go through. There really is. And now is the time, Scott, to put those lessons together. And one of the things I love is the shit gets crazy in the postseason, and our team, we know crazy stuff. And so sorry you're on TV, you might not be able to use that, but we like crazy, and it does serve you well in moments that come up. And I think over the last month, our games have come down to the end. It's not, and what I told them last night, just because we can does not mean we have to do this. But I do love that there is a confidence with the group, Scott, because they have been in a lot of fights. And on that sideline, when you're there, there's not a panic about it. There's not anything other than real belief that we're going to go make the next play to do the next thing. And that is a strong thing that I couldn't have scripted anymore for our team. And so to be in those kind of fights, it is really important. And because if you aren't in any and you get to them, you'll feel tight. You would. And so we've been in a lot of wild moments, and I think those are the things that can serve you well, because those moments, they are 100% coming up here in the postseason.
The sense of urgency now where it's a tournament, win and move on, lose and the season is over. What type of messaging do you give to your players? Because you want to try to treat it like a normal game, but is that even possible in this type of a situation?
You'd better have your process down of how you prepare and how you play it. If you have those things right, Scott, by the time the game comes, you've put in the work, so you have this confidence that goes with it. If you cheat yourself in the preparation of what it could be, you'll feel that in the game. So it is absolutely about the work to get ready. And then once you do now get to kickoff, you've put the work in, man, you're ready for this moment. And so that's what I see it. But I don't see it as our team where you have to over-try. No one here has to put the cape on. We've got to play complementary football like we're capable of. It's a tough, hard team, and we've got to do us remarkably well.
Andy?
Hey, Coach. So pulling on the thread a little bit more with some of what you've already shared, how are you handling all of this? I mean, there has been some wild and crazy moments, and I know we're sitting in the press box all holding our breath, but for you, what is this like?
it's pretty awesome, to be on the sideline when these moments are taking place. Most of them, Candy, I'm trying to be a play ahead, or I'm talking it through. So even in the game yesterday, this is our field goal line. So once we get to that spot, and then Marcus had the long scramble, and then it allowed us to say, hey, here's the next scenario where, it's inbound play. We'd go clock it, to give ourselves a chance at the next one. So it's fun when we talk through a lot of the moments that come up, and then we get to go live them, because we practice all of these way more than we ever play it. And that's kind of the thing about football. Like, you practice way more than you play. And it's kind of like so much different than basketball, where you get all these games and you can keep extending things. So your heart rate's up, but you're kind of ready for the moments, and the guys have been in there. And I know we've done a good job during the week when they'll be watching other games and text you, or did you see that? Did this just happen? Like, things that we would call. And so the fact that they do that on their own, I think that's a really cool thing.
And just before week 1, you shared that this season, during the regular season, that you all would have game captains, and then going into the postseason. I distinctly remember you saying, when we get to the postseason, and I was like, oh, okay. But now that you're here,
yes.
Now that you are here, what are some of the things that you're going to be thinking about in terms of who those captains will be in the postseason?
We voted on those today. And so we will have captains that we will announce on Friday. And so those will be the captains for the postseason. That's a great memory.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Donna.
Could you talk a little bit about where you see the offensive line right now, being that Todd Bowles and that group likes to blitz a lot, and some key things that these guys can do to counter all the things that's going to be happening with that blitzing defense?
Yes, and that is one of the real strong points of Tampa. And so the run defense is also really strong, because sometimes you can just see, hear somebody blitzing, but they also have a good run pressure package as well. They got a big front. So for us, the protection is going to be a really big deal for us to make sure that, we have the right looks for the right people. And then how do we feature our players, tight ends, running backs, receivers, to match up? Because sometimes in their system, big guys have to drop. They can overload to a side. And so we've got to make sure, Donna, that we really find our matchups. And then you have to make sure that the run after catch element is there, because they're not going to give you lots of shots. And so when your chances come to go nail a big play, an explosive play, you've got to go deliver on those.
And looking at some of your younger players going into this stretch of the season, second half of the season, the Jaden, Mikey, and all those guys, first-year players, where have you seen their growth in this second half, getting them ready for this moment?
Yeah, the maturity for those two and a number of their teammates jumps out to me. And what I've come to know about them is these are really disciplined guys. So motivation takes you so far. It's the discipline and doing the things right over and over again, all of the unseen work. And so I've come to really count on that discipline from Jaden, and whether it was decisions for him, with the ball, or with Mike, making the transition from nickel out to corner, and dealing with those guys, I've found like that's the common thread. I've felt these are like very disciplined young guys, and they've really applied that discipline to their football life. And it's no surprise that why they're having this kind of success, because they can absolutely stay in it. And that's kind of the definition of grit, of doing those things, the hard things over and over again. And both Jaden and Mikey, they really have that, Donna.
Thanks, Coach.
Why not?
Dan, you mentioned your team getting healthier. How's Brandon Coleman doing as well? And is any update at all on Austin Seibert?
Brandon is doing well. Had a good session today to get rolling. So as we're going into it, Steve, I really think, from a team health standpoint, we'll have a better sense for Wednesday. But going into today and the meetings and, our runs and rehab runs, all of that was a positive day for us. And as far as Austin goes, no updates on him as we're hitting, but we were certainly pleased with what we saw from Zane.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, we'll see you guys Wednesday.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, safe out there.